The first Monday or the first day back to work or our routine in January can be like hopping off a treadmill. After a month-long glut, now maybe you behave better than I do during the holidays, but I'll just speak for myself. After a month-long glut of holiday music and get-togethers with too much rich food, it feels impossible that the world could still be the same as it was before Thanksgiving. Still, tomorrow we turn to the secular version of ordinary time. The radio station is playing whatever it played before Bing Crosby and Santa Claus hijacked the airwaves. The kids will be back to school, if not tomorrow, probably the day after, if not next week. 2017 is here. Back to work and play, back to the pain and the joy of our everyday living. Over the past few weeks, a lot of people have been cursing 2016, and the year earned it. There's no doubt about that. Scores of beloved people have died. Animal species have gone extinct. It was the hottest year on record. The election. One entertainment company produced a 6-minute horror movie simply entitled 2016. At the end of this short film, after successfully surviving attacks by a shadowy and murderous figure named 2016, the three main characters sit looking out the window as this haunting version of Auld Lang Syne plays in the background, waiting for the arrival of 2017, holding pickaxes and sledgehammers. It is the perfect depiction of the anxiety I sense in our culture, and at times I feel in myself right now. In 19 days, Donald Trump will be inaugurated as president, and what happens after that is uncertain. We can be sure that it will also be unprecedented. The questions roil in our minds. Will there be another rise in hate crimes after the 20th? Will there be a Muslim registry? What about the environment? LGBTQ rights? For the next 19 days, we can only worry. And that I am good at. Maybe some of you are too. When I'm not careful, I become a pro-level agonizer, especially in times like these. I lose sleep over things that haven't happened yet and maybe never will. My dreams evolve as if my brain is trying to help me chew on the problem. The other night I dreamed I was walking through the wilderness and came upon this broken down amusement park. And I rode the roller coasters. I was having lots of fun being the only person in the park, but I also had this general sense of dread, as if something terrible was about to happen. That might sum up the 2016 holidays for some people. But Evelyn Lim, who writes at the blog Tiny Buddha, defines worry in a way that stopped me in my anxiety-ridden tracks. She says, in reality, all forms of worry represent an underlying lack of trust. You are unable to trust in the goodness of life. Now, she isn't recommending ignoring the bad things that happen or not being prepared to react. She is condemning a worldview that can only see and cogitate on the bad things that could happen. She is urging us away from a lifestyle in which we constantly fuss over the bad or the potential bad. Because, as she says, worrying doesn't bring you any closer to solving problems. In fact, it only makes it more difficult to find clarity. We are not powerless in the face of worry. She recommends some cures, including exercise, staying hydrated, seeking professional help if needed. These are all wise words. She also suggests intentionally changing your perspective. And so, after reading Lim's words, I returned to what has become an anchor to my spirit. If you've been here a while, you've heard me talk about this. The 5 Smooth Stones of Religious Liberalism. Part of an essay written by 20th century Unitarian Universalist theologian James Luther Adams. 3 of his 5 smooth stones seem especially important these days. First, he argues we have a moral obligation to work toward a world that's more just and loving. We can't get out of that. That's part of the work of being human. No heads in the sand. Second, and building on that first point, he wrote, "We deny the immaculate conception of virtue and affirm the necessity of social incarnation." In other words, good things don't just happen. People like you and people like me, we make them happen. Well, so far he's done nothing to allay my anxiety. I'm still on the broken down roller coaster, I'm sure. I'm morally obligated to work for a more just and loving world, and that world will only come into being if me and people like me work toward it. My palms begin to sweat. But his fifth smooth stone is a truth that sustains. He wrote, "Religious liberalism holds that the resources, both divine and human, that are available for the achievement of meaningful change justify an attitude of ultimate optimism. If we're paying attention, we have every resource we need to complete the work of increasing love and justice. And sometimes those resources come completely out of having nothing to do with us. I would say out of grace. This is where worry does us a great disservice. It keeps us focused on the bad things happening now, even when the good is all around us. 2016, for example, wasn't only a bad year. The election was a great victory for women of color in power. California Attorney General Kamala Harris became the first black woman elected to the U.S. Senate in that state. Ilhan Omar became the first Somali American lawmaker. There were stories about her everywhere, it seemed. Catherine Cortez Masto became the first Latina senator in U.S. history as she was elected in Nevada. And there was more. Child mortality continues to decrease. The giant panda is no longer endangered, and several other species are making a comeback. That's good news. A long list of great things that happened in 2016 is circulating the internet. Almost all of them happened because people took seriously the charge to make the world a more just and loving place. Very few of them happened without that. I mention these things, these good things, not to divert our attention from the work we have in front of us, but to prepare us for it. To remind us that even in a terrible year, the light of love and goodness did not go out. The resources that are needed for more love and justice are always there if we're looking for them. That, it seems to me, is the lesson of the holiday season in general. That the light never really goes out, even when things seem darkest. For a couple weeks during the longest nights of the year, we intentionally remember that the light will return, and we focus on one another intently for a time. This time out of time we call the holiday season can't last. It shouldn't. Like prayer and meditation, its goal is to reconnect us to what's really important, to reorient us to the holy in the world, and to send us out a little better than we were when we started. But let us learn the lesson of these precious days before they're gone. And let us enter into 2017, this year of uncertainty, with faith that we are called to make it better, and we must. That we are the only ones who can, and that everything we need to get it done is available to us. Even when the night is longest, the light on the path of love and justice never goes out. Amen.